Too many people are, I prayed this, nothing happened, prayed this, nothing happened, prayed this, nothing happened, I haven't got time to pray. I mean, normally you ask me a question, I've got an answer, should we do something? Yes, let's do it. So I don't need to stall, but I don't then include a prayer.
No, you need to stem from a place of prayer. And the reason why your first point has to be prayer is prayer changes your perspective.
It's very comfortable for us to trust for the bare minimum. But God says He's not a God about the bare minimum. He's a God of excess, and we need to trust for that.
But by finding the revelation of God's strength, we can be content despite the circumstances. Well, hello everyone, once again, and welcome to The Connection. And yay, I get to be asking the questions and interrogating Chad this time. So we're on a journey at the moment called John's Instagram, where we're looking at revelation pictures that John had and how those revelations of Jesus can impact our lives. So, Chad, you've preached to the oldies so far. How did it go?
I think it was good. I think it's always nice. They're super engaging and friendly.
In fact, we shouldn't even call it the oldies service. We run a service on Thursdays at 11:30 to 12:30. And if you're a stay-at-home mom or just want to come to church, it happens every Thursday. So now, I gave you a list of all of the pictures to choose from. And which one did you choose and why?
Chose Jesus the King.
Okay.
Basically, a few weeks ago, we were actually doing a series at youth called The Good News, trying to just go through, because we call the Gospels the good news, and we were just trying to think, hey, why is it called the good news? So we were just trying to dig out good news. And I just remember reading that first chapter of Matthew thinking, this is a boring chapter. And
The father and son. He was the father of this person, the father of this person.
And it goes on for like 20 verses or whatever. And I remember messaging you going, Flip, I just ignored this chapter. What's the point? And then suddenly, once the dots got connected, that no, actually Jesus was related to David, and actually this is a promise God's been promising us forever. Honestly, it just blew my mind. And not that it takes a lot to blow my mind, but it's always just been, this sums up the good news. Flip, actually, after all these years, we have a king.
Yeah.
And it's just stuck with me.
Sure. And I mean, this is a huge revelation to the revelation that Jesus is a king, the king, my king. So now, you must have chosen it. There must be some personal impact on your life that this revelation has had. So how has this revelation of Jesus as king impacted on you?
It's confused me.
It's confused you, okay?
Because suddenly it takes away every excuse. Because
Yeah.
actually we have a king now. So actually there's no excuse to keep doing what you want. There's no excuse for, actually we have a king. If you're actually listening to him, there's no excuse for the outcome of your life. I think it gives me hope, because it's like 100 things, but the fact that, hey, actually if you look at everything they went through in the Old Testament, and everything they went through time after time, kings failing, and then suddenly, hey, here's Jesus, kind of just sums up, hey, actually it's like, when you're finally out of lockdown for that first time, there's hope. You can see friends, you can do it. It's like, hey, actually Jesus is here. We're out of the law. We're out of this. Hey, actually we have a new king. And it just to me, it opens up what Christianity is about so much more, because suddenly, hey, now there's a mission, now there's purpose, now there's accountability, and it just goes on and on. And I find I'm someone I'm discontent 90% of the time with everything. I'm like, there has to be more to worship than this. There has to be more to church. There has to be more to Jesus. And I was at a bar the other night, and someone said, sometimes people say they don't belong, and that's because we don't. I just realized, hey, actually our kingdom is not here. Our kingdom of heaven. Actually, we don't belong. There has to be more. So it just gives me a sense of, hey, actually there's a mission. Actually, there's a kingdom I'm supposed to be an ambassador of. It just opens up. Hey, flip, suddenly everything has, there's handles on stuff. Even though it still confuses me because I don't know how to get a grip on all of it. But hey, actually there's a mission.
Now, this revelation of Jesus as king, I mean, the age we live in nowadays, people are very wary of authority figures, and no one tells me what to do. I'm my own man. And so, I mean, how would this revelation, what stops people from really catching this revelation in sort of the world we live in nowadays?
I think even though times are so different, I think it looks different, but I think it's still very similar to
Yeah.
how it was. And I still think the thing that keeps us from maybe following Jesus as king is still the same old thing of we're actually caught in our old traditions.
Sure.
And I think in comfort, where yes, I love Jesus so much and I want to serve him, but actually in my modern day tradition of no, this is how I look at relationships, or this is how I look at life, to now leave what I grew up with as a tradition to now suddenly change. There's that scripture that John talks about where the Pharisees were upset that the O's deserted their tradition to follow Jesus. It makes me think, what? I actually have to desert some things and leave some things. Jesus says, actually, you have to leave your mother, you have to leave this, leave your work if you want to follow me. And actually, it's not comfortable, and it's not easy to actually follow Jesus as king.
Because I suppose being part of a different kingdom, we're all part of the kingdom of the world. We've grown up in it. It's almost like you're part of your culture, and now there's a culture within a culture, a kingdom within a kingdom.
Exactly.
And it's so different to the ways of the world. It's a big thing to get your mind around. And so now let me put Chad on the spot. Remember I spoke about David once, and he had, remember the revelation of the Lord is my shepherd. And he had this penny dropping moment, the Lord's my shepherd. So at the end of the psalm, he says, surely goodness and mercy. The revelation of Jesus as your shepherd, the surely revelation is, well, then goodness and mercy are going to follow me. He's my shepherd. So now, if I had this revelation, bam, Jesus is my king. Surely, ...
Sure. I think when I think of a king, I think just how a shepherd leads and feeds. If I have to think of a king when the economy is tough or when an army's coming, it's the king's problem, not mine. The king makes a way. And I think for me, someone who's always trying to lead my life well, trying to make the next plan, trying to come up with ideas. I think the this is awesome, is actually, in a nice way, actually this situation is Jesus' problem. He's the king. If I can just submit and bow to the king, actually he will get me through the scenario. He will get me to the promise. He will get me to the best plan for my family, for my kingdom, for my church. And I still, honestly, I still battle with it. I don't think the penny's falling, but the penny hasn't dropped. But it's just not actually everything in life. It's God's problem. He's got this. If I submit.
So in some ways, it's almost like that verse in Isaiah where it says, I think it's in Isaiah 9 or 11, it says, of the increase of his government and peace, there'll be no end. In other words, as his government grows, peace grows. So what you're basically saying is, Jesus is my king, surely peace should reign.
Exactly.
So would you say that that's almost the level of your inner peace is a measure of the level of the government or kingship of Jesus inside of you?
Definitely. I think that's a brilliant way to put it.
Sure. So that's quite a challenge for us then.
So I think for me now, I'm thinking, I'm not that at peace.
Okay.
I think I need to make
So
Jesus
now, what
more
can
the
you
king.
do then? Like now you've just said, I think I need to make Jesus more my king. What could we do to Jesus? I want more of your kingship.
Well, personally, for me, and I think it's something we can all do, is just trying to make that personal challenge of actually sitting. For me, I need to write stuff down.
Yeah.
To actually, when I have that afternoon cup of coffee, to write down, hey, where in my life is Jesus not king?
Okay.
If I have to think, hey, what does a kingless kingdom look like?
Yes.
So where in my life is the evidence of again where was it? In Judges, I think, where whoever wrote Judges says, where there was no king, they just did whatever they want. For me, it's, but where in my life am I just doing whatever I want? And how is that not bringing any peace or bringing anxiety, bringing whatever? And let me just get super practical in my life. Hey, what parts are following Jesus, but what parts actually still just me, and I actually haven't given that over. Just day by day, try and hand over more.
Sure. Because that's the great challenge. He's called the Prince of Peace. So when he reigns, his kingdom, righteousness, peace, and joy. I would love this revelation. Just imagine, a church, Christians, full of this revelation. Sure. Jesus is our King. Peace reigns. So have you got some questions for us to maybe ponder and discuss?
I do. So in your groups, if you have groups tonight, I would just before you even ask the question, actually just talk and discuss amongst yourselves. Just try and imagine, picture together what a kingdom without a king must look like. Or imagine a country with no president or no
Sure.
government. And then once you get as creative as what you can with that picture, and then think, can your life or those lives around you relate to that picture of a king's kingdom? Just think why.
That's a great question. I think you should make up the questions in future. That's a good one.
I think second one is what have you or what have you not deserted since you started following Jesus? John says the Pharisees were upset when people deserted their traditions to follow Jesus, and sometimes find we can follow Jesus and not let go of some of our traditions when we follow. So I actually think, hey, what are we still holding on to as individuals or even as a connect group?
I mean, almost trying to be part of two kingdoms at the same time.
Yes.
So truly, if you want him king, it means letting go. Sure, it's a good question.
Exactly. And the third is, what would a kingdom culture look like in your life or in your church or in your family? And then just discuss what can you do as an ambassador to represent that culture, to actually start building that culture within your family, within your church. Because the reality is, even though we're part of God's kingdom, we're not always representing his kingdom. And sometimes it takes one person to step up and start establishing that so it can become the culture in our life or in our church or our work. So what can you do?
Brilliant. So there you have it. So whether you are meeting as a connect group, whether you're doing personal Bible study or take this around the dining room table with the family, those are some great questions that hopefully spark some good discussion. Now, don't forget your Bible reading plan. Hopefully you've got one of those bookmarks. I think it's available on Facebook now as well.
Yes.
Or so if you're not following through the Gospel of John, the reading plan, you can still catch up. We'd love you to get on board and be part of those daily readings. Chad, thanks. Looking forward to you this weekend. Chad is going to be, if you haven't heard it yet, and thanks for preaching. Trust that it goes well, and we can't wait to see all of you again next week. Bye for now.
Cheers.